race to their sideline. Touchdown, Oregon!
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all wages, welcome to the show. And there is a lot to cover. There is no opening clip, even though I had one planned originally. And I am tired. This is a sunglasses episode because I am tired. A POW in Vietnam has had a better sleep schedule than me lately. And in the meantime, I'm still trying to get a lot done. So, nonetheless, hold on a second. Forgot to turn the AC off, so there's no background noise there for you. Nonetheless, a lot to cover. So, we'll get it started quickly because this is going to be a quick show, and I have a football game to shoot tonight. Photos for non-PPR related, obviously, because of no contest clauses in my current gig. As you can see, whoops, this way, Lemmy is behind me. Anyway, so. Ducks played very sloppily against Boise State. Tez Johnson, Tez for Prez. That's right. Tez for Prez was able to pull off a punt return, and Noah Whittington had a 99.5-yard kickoff return to have it recovered by, was it Lamar Chase? I think it was his name, the true hero of the game, who picked it up in the end zone, and that was the ruling from the refs, that it was a fumble recovery for a touchdown for the Ducks. Ducks should have lost by 11 points, but instead won by 3 on a last-second field goal by Atticus Sappington the third, Esquire. Very fancy name. Ducks should not have won that game, but that 14 points on special teams was the difference. Now, defense played pretty well again. The pass defense was pretty great. Jabbar Muhammad was such a great pickup. I'm so glad he's on our side now and not with the Huskies. And Brandon Johnson had a pretty decent day too. Nico Reed as well. The pass defense was good. I would like to see, despite some of the statistics that are flowing out there, I would like to see the D linemen get their pressure quicker on opposing quarterbacks and actually get some sacks and not just some rushed throws and that cause incompletions or out-of-pocket play from the opposing quarterback. I'd really like to see some actual sacks happening. But beggars can't be choosers. Ashton Gianti, he's one of those players that you just have to... If he has a relatively average to above average day, you've done your job as a defense. So, I can't remember. I think it was 192 yards. So, on paper, that sounds bad. But with how good Ashton Gianti is, clearly, holding him to a normal day, basically, an average day for him, that's a win for your defense. They got him behind the backfield in key moments. The quarterback, Madsen, I think is his last name, was pretty good. But clearly, Gianti was the playmaker of that team, and he did make plays. That 70-yard rush right after that fumble by Herbert was a big play, and that got him right back into the game. And again, those are problems that the Ducks have. They seem to they get him, even against Idaho, they had a couple crucial moments where they had the chance to really put the boot on the opposing team's throat and finish them off, and win the game relatively handily. But they messed something up. They made a mistake, some sort of costly penalty, some sort of I still can't remember the phrase, but it's like the most basic penalty of them all: a false start, of illegal formation, or a hold. So many holding calls on that game. Again, the penalty discrepancy with Boise State was present. The Ducks played very sloppily in that way, and Boise State played very disciplined. That has to be cleaned up, especially against the Beavers. And again, the Beaver fans out there are talking crap, a whole lot of it, because there's blood in the water. They see blood, and they want to go after it, and they want to go for blood. They think that they have a chance, and they sort of do right now with how sloppily the Ducks are playing. Now, there were key moments where the Ducks looked pretty okay on the O-line, or at least passable with certain lineups. And again, like we talked about last episode, we talked about how finicky the O-line position is. And so with Bedford out, what it really did, of course, was Bedford is a talented guy, obviously, so there is a gap in talent there. But oftentimes when a key offensive lineman gets injured, it's not like losing your star quarterback. It's not in the way that, oh my gosh, our playmaker's gone. But it's the guy that helps those playmakers play and make the plays. And that has to do a lot with lineups. Now, you can... And this is also what I was explaining to a coworker of mine today, where I grew up obviously a receiver and a safety, but I have a lot of respect for the offensive line position, not just because those are guys that help the receivers and the quarterbacks go, but because of how intricate and sort of mathematical the O-line position is. And a lot of times, if a quarterback and a receiver are having an off day, they can still put up some numbers, and they can still get a deep ball for a touchdown, a screen pass for a first down, whatever. Like all those, you can still hit timing routes well enough to win the game. But there has to be a distinct level of communication with the O-line, almost telepathic. And if it's not there, then the other team's gonna run all over you, and that's because the other team's just gonna pin their ears back and go. For lack of a better term, you're taking on a blitzkrieg of players coming after you, and they'll probably blitz more because if they see that you can barely handle 3 to 4 defensive linemen in a coverage package, then they're just gonna say, "Let's send the house. Why not? We're probably gonna get to the QB in time." And Dillon Gabriel has sort of shown this last game against Boise. He's not the greatest at running or evading pressure. We got really spoiled with Bo Nix too. Let's not. Now the offensive line last year in front of Bo Nix was still pretty much an iron curtain, and it was very rare, or 90-10, that they would fail super hard on their blocking assignments and let someone through. But even when they did, Bo Nix knew how to evade the pressure, and he had legs. They didn't use him very much because of the offensive coordinator offensive scheme, but he used him enough to get out of sacks that probably normally would happen. And we're seeing a weak spot in Dillon Gabriel's game, because in fact there were times that he finally ran enough to get out of the pocket and try to throw it, but he runs right into the sack. He doesn't run away from it. He literally runs right into the pursuit angle of the right defensive end on a really key third down, and a huge loss on the play. So not only does the O-line need to clean it up big time, and there were groupings and there were groupings where it worked, and we sort of saw that with things like the nice deep ball to Evan Stewart and all sorts of plays outside of even the couple missed throws, which you're just going to have to take. Not every quarterback's going to hit even the best quarterback's not going to hit every route, but you got to give that quarterback a chance to throw that stuff more often than not, and that's not happening. So now it's like every time we finally get enough time to get a deep ball out, it's like super important you get 100%, and it's not going to happen that way all the time. So Dillon Gabriel definitely needs to evade pressure a lot better, because he's going to get some right now at least. And it seems like, though, there in that game there were flashes of greatness. And I'm not saying in the histrionic LeBron James sense that they have in all the 30 for 30 documentaries. I just mean great play. And we saw that with the Evan Stewart play. We saw that with a couple other plays as well that I can't completely remember because it's already been a week. But Thank you, Lemmy, for your input. Hold on, let me get that and put him down for you. But where was I? And that was because it seemed like they found a grouping of O linemen that can gel together, but that portion is sort of the big problem, or the big issue, and the big loss, if you will, of Bedford being out, because they had to shuffle around the O-line lineup. And the Ducks are gonna have to figure that out real fast, and hopefully they are figuring it out, because the Civil War game is the last game before conference play in the Big Ten, and I believe the first two conference games are Ohio State and Michigan. So, it needs to happen fast, and it needs to happen in a drastic way. Again, look, Boise State has always been a trap team. And especially for the Ducks, they were 0-3 all time until this game. So they worked their way to sort of getting the monkey off their back. They're still down 1-3 in the total series, so I won't say completely. But they finally got a good dent and chip in that armor, and they finally got sort of a big win that sort of has been Bellotti and Chip Kelly couldn't even beat those guys, even back then. Even though those teams are probably more evenly matched, to be honest. But again, so that's good. We got the win, and that's very important. And we got a win that we haven't got before in program history. So that is good. And some of the improved play helped that. But again, without those 14 points, what's that? 27 minus 4, that's 23 points scored. And especially if your defense is going to have to go up against superstars and stuff like that, where if you are going to give up yards and such, and they can't be on the field all day, but if they are on the field all day and they're not going to make a stop every time, the offense has got to put up points. If you're giving short yardage situations, off turnovers, whatever, you're giving the defense an uphill battle of going against the other team's momentum and forcing them to steal it back. You're putting them in a difficult position. Once or twice here and there, that's fine, but every single time, you're putting them in a bad position. And so that's sort of what makes it more impressive that the Ducks defense has been able to do what they've been able to do the past 2 weeks, because they've been put in terrible positions both games, almost exclusively all game. And so, I didn't think this game was going to be a blowout by any means, even though in order to make a statement, they should have, because now the Ducks are 2-0 and they've dropped both weeks. Deservedly so, by the way. Deservedly so. But I'm sure they're the only team at this point in college football history that has won games and continually dropped. And now we can't blame the Pac-12 bias, whatever, and so forth. This is on the Ducks' play. And they need to clean it up fast. And I'm going to have another sort of episode based on this. I don't think I was clear enough last week when I was talking about how Duck fans need an intervention, some Duck fans. But let me tell you this. This is not being a hater. This is truth. You all need to see the reality of the situation, okay? You can't just call people haters for criticizing the Ducks' play. And there's a standard of football that has been marketed to everybody. And the media is also complicit in this, because they keep hyping these teams up that shouldn't be hyped up. And I know, again, like I said, it's probably because these guys, even if they're not fans, they're sort of excited to see the Ducks finally take one home. But you can't keep calling national championship every year. You just can't. You got to be honest, because that's the only way you will win a national championship. And I was at the beginning of this episode, I was going to show you clips, if I had the time, of other teams blowing out other teams and they still said they played a shit game. And Duck fans are talking about how ride or die with your team. And if you don't blindly follow this tribalistic nonsense, it's like politics at this point, where your team can't do no wrong. You can't criticize your own team to play better, even with a win. I don't want to be that guy again, but when I played, the biggest screaming matches screaming rants that we heard from our coaches was during wins, not losses. You just can't get away with that if you're playing at a certain level, if you expect to be at a certain level. And these people, these fans, they should never, ever, ever be put in charge of helping an alcoholic. Because that's enabling behavior. And that is enabling behavior that kills alcoholics. Say, oh, well, they played great. Well, they got a win. A win is a win. Sure. But then don't be surprised if you go up against a good team and then you think the Ducks are going to win because all they do is win, quote unquote. But the other team outplays them. It's the same reason why people were surprised Washington won twice last year. Because they didn't see it coming. Because they blinded themselves to what was coming. So, that being the case, this weekend, this Saturday, it's going to be another difficult game. Another nail-biter against the Beavers. Because that program hates the Ducks more than anything in this world now. Because they bitched and moaned all last year. We'll get to that in just a second. They complained all last year that the Ducks were the ones that killed the Pac-12. Even though it was USC and UCLA, really. Oh, wait. And the commissioner of the Pac-12. If you go to my first episode of the podcast, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I can go over it again. And that was supposedly the institution that taught me about media. They can't even see the goddamn writing on the wall of what happened that killed the Pac-12. They want to blame the Ducks. It's pathetic. But they're mad. Big mad. And they see the Ducks playing like crap. This is their Super Bowl. It's a rivalry game. It's a rivalry game we almost lost in terms of not being able to play it because of conference realignment. This is a big deal. This is their Super Bowl. So the Ducks better play like they're, the other team in the Super Bowl. Have it actually mean something to you. Because it means something to them. Let Dillon Gabriel ball. Let him ball out. We've seen what he can do in other programs. I don't know why. These guys got NIL money. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. You're not saving their health for the NFL anymore, where it's like, well, why waste their knee on college and get them paid? You got to let them be more risky. They did that stuff with Bo Nix last year, too. Let them ball. Let him go out and ball out. That's how Dillon Gabriel plays. I can see that because I used to be an instinct guy when I played. He's an instinct guy. He's not trying to out chess match and out money ball the other team. He has those fundamentals. He can do it. He makes reads. He's got decent enough mechanics. He can throw a ball. Let him ball out. That's how Oklahoma beat Texas last year. He balled out. Let him go for it. Go 3 sheets to the wind. Throw all caution to the wind. Let the boy play. And heck, maybe he's not as good as we thought he was. And if he tries to ball out and he fails constantly, then so be it. But I prefer someone go out, balls to the wall, slapping it on the table, playing the absolute best and most effort they possibly can and lose than this conservative stuff of like check down. I want to not get hit. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to be a threat in any way, really. I understand the whole idea of getting, with all these screens, getting the ball into space with your playmakers. Well, guess what? If they're playmakers, they'll make a play on any play. Why are we doing basketball plays on a football field? Throw the ball, sling it around. I don't care if there's a pick or two. Just let the boys play. Let them ball out. That being said, the biggest news of this week, though, was the Pack is back. Return of the Pack. 6-pack. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State University in my backyard are now part of the new Pac-12. It's arguable that Boise State probably should have been in the Pac-12 for a long time. They certainly outperformed the Mountain West Conference. And apparently, according to the statistics, SDSU was another one of those teams that outperformed their conference. So they arguably could have been in the Pac-12 too at this point. It's just kind of funny, again, before the Beaver fans and Oregon State bitch and moan and took it to the courts because they didn't want to be relegated and sent to the Mountain West. And they were mad that the Big Ten poached all the other teams. Well, guess what happened? They just poached the Mountain West. They killed the Mountain West to rebuild the Pac-12. Very fitting for Oregon State to be 1 to 3 years behind of everyone else, play the victim, and then copycat everyone else. That's a few years ago. I think it was Mike Riley's last year when they got the whole revamp of the logo and the revamp of all the uniforms, and they said it was because of recruiting. I wonder who you got that from 10 years after the fact. Huh? Complaining about Nike money. What's that swoosh on your uniform, huh? Just accept the business of college football for what it is. You're not on a more high moral high horse, or you don't have more integrity because you're letting your program tank. I'm an Oregon boy, all right? I'm a Duck fan with Duck fan bias. But again, if the Ducks are going to play the Beavers, I want the Beavers to do well, just not against the Ducks. Because it's fun that way. 2009, War of the Roses, was fun. It was a civil war. Last game of the regular season, and the winner of the game went to the Rose Bowl. That's fun. Let's have rivalries be fun again. And what I mean by that, too, is that we've brought the mechanics of politics into sports fandom. Where you call someone a Nazi or a racist just because they're on the other team. It's stupid. It is low IQ thinking. Absolute people that don't read books thinking. That's why you don't see playful jabs and teasing anymore. People don't understand that because now they think it's an aggressive affront to them and who they are as a person. But rivalry teams used to rib each other just for fun. It was all in good fun. Now it's not anymore. Take it personally. And that's why you have Beaver fans angry at the Ducks. And they go after people in the aisles of grocery stores. Talking about, go Beavers. Like I give a shit when I'm buying ice cream at that point. So, congratulations, though, to the 4 teams that are now in the Pac-12. I'm glad. It's kind of funny that the new commissioner, can't remember her name, But she basically fixed the Pac-12 in one stroke of a pen in 5 minutes. Signed a deal immediately with television at the price Larry Scott, I believe, run away from and gave the middle finger to ESPN. Guess what? She's going to bring it back and throw middle fingers in Larry Scott's face. Say, that's how you do it, bitch. Good for her. It's not a greed thing either, necessarily. It's just media stupidity, not understanding the media landscape. It's not greed. Greed is an aspect of it. The greed is what clouded the judgment, but it's absolute media illiteracy. I don't know why I get so heated today. I'm in a relatively good mood, I guess. I'm just tired, I guess, and loopy, so it made me hyped up, I guess. But Boise State arguably should have been in the Pac-12, so it's nice that they're there now. They play to that level. Fresno State, I'm hoping this works out in their favor, helps their recruiting a little bit better, because they used to be an awesome program, a fun program to watch. In the early 2000s, beating Fresno State as a Duck fan was a big win, or a decently big win. It was a solid win, because they're a fun program in the middle of the desert in California. Just good old-fashioned Friday Night Lights style football. They were fun to watch, especially as part of the WAC. So I maybe like to see Hawaii join, because they're obviously in the dead center of the Pacific, and I would, so that would be cool. But we'll see. Right now it's 6 teams, so they got a good foundation sort of built up. They probably need to see if they can tantalize Cal and Stanford to come back. Hopefully get some bigger names, some bigger markets, and Cal's somewhat on the come up, so hopefully they keep that going. And Stanford needs to rebuild, and hopefully they can do that, and they'll strengthen their conference a little more. And hopefully they'll get a certain group of people start coming back. The people that belong in that conference. But other conferences are probably good where they're at this point. So we will see. So, and I guess with that all being said, we can go in depth about it later. That's it for me. Thank you for watching, and Vive Patos.